Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Blazecasting presentation bringing you guys a game between Beyond the Summit and Dota2.ru, the Russian Dota 2 website there. It is part of the Dota 2 Staff Cup, iteration number 2, and we are going to be looking at these two teams going up against one another, and very excited. The first round we saw a really good game between the European managers and the staff of Dota Bro, but in the end it was obviously the European managers coming out on top there, and now we get to see hopefully an exciting game that's still in the winners bracket, round 2, seeing Beyond the Summit take on these guys here. So I myself am Blazecasting, and I'm joined here with Rainmaker. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Really enjoyed watching that last game, and I'm particularly excited for this. Maybe you can fill me in, Blaze, but who is exactly who on the Beyond the Summit lineup? McDreamy?
I was trying to figure that out, and honestly, I'm not 100% there. McDreamy is LD. I got that one. He told me in the lobby, and of course, Bruno and Cyborg Matt we know, but from there, the only other options for Agent and who's that Pokemon would have to be between Winter, Pure Blacks, and Gods.
Oh, right. That is tricky. I've got to say, Winter seems more like a Pokemon to me, but I'm not sure if he's actually on BTS, which would make him the 00 agent. So this is tricky. Like, it could go either way.
Definitely. Based on what I'm getting in Skype, I think Gods is one of the individuals. I'm not sure which, but he was posting about issues with the servers and stuff. So presumably that is... he is one of them, and then the other has to be either the P-Flax or Winter, and I think it'll be pretty obvious based on some skill discrepancy there's which would be the case, but one way or another, we'll see that pretty soon. I honestly don't know too much about the Russian Dota 2 employees there, so we do have Versus, Rusak, Liked, or Lichud, whichever way you want to pronounce it, and then Adsky and Advan, but honestly don't know too much about them or their playstyle, so we'll just have to see. Obviously they did win round 1, so that enables them some merit in this matchup here, but we'll have to see as we go on through. What do you think about the bans so far?
I think these are fairly standard bans, but, you know, allowing the Bat Rider to slip through is a little bit dangerous. You know, Bat Rider is a very versatile hero. He can go long lane, he can go mid, he can jungle, and in every single role he's really effective. You know, once he gets a Blink Dagger and, you know, maybe a Force Staff on top of that, that's really all you need to be a very dominant hero. And he also, he does pretty well against Queen of Pain mid, so if they decide to put him in the mid lane, I think he might not have an advantage just because of the Blink allowing Queen of Pain to get to the runes very easily, but he will do very well in the early stages of the game and get, you know, pretty much free farm.
Sure enough. Sorry, I had an issue with your Skype there, but I got it all fixed out now. And as far as the continuing on draft, we do have Queen of Pain and Magnus picked up, two very powerful heroes. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to lane it. Either one can technically suicide and kind of go for a very aggressive position where they have survivability from either the rank 1 Blink or Skewer. Neither one is going to be a perfect match. I mean, you can still get stunned out pretty effectively there. But either way, they're going to try to do something in that manner. They both want a solo experience, that's for sure, because Magnus really needs to rank up that reverse polarity. And kind of like we were talking about last game with the Nyx Assassin and kind of building up momentum in that regard, the Queen of Pain needs a little bit of level advantage as well to make sure that that kind of static magic damage is getting the most benefit early on where it's most potent there. So around the level 11, she wants to be ganking up very aggressively with the Scream, with the Sonic Wave, and dishing out a lot of damage there.
Yeah, I would have to say, though, seeing a Queen of Pain and a Magnus very early on, it almost lends itself to setting up for an aggressive tri-lane and allowing either the Queen or the Magnus to kind of solo their safe lane. And that basically means that they'll get the experience they want while not being quite as much danger as they would be in the suicide lane. It looks like Keeper has actually slipped into the second half of the picks in the first phase, and I'll see what they follow him up with, you know. Normally we'd see kind of a mana-hungry carry, like perhaps even a PL could pop up. We might see something super aggressive like a CK, which is something that I've been seeing. I forget which team it is, but I don't know if it's actually a Russian one. But it's some European team has been doing Keeper the Light CK a lot, and it's been very effective. If they want to go for a super aggressive lineup with a Bat Rider, a CK, a Keeper the Light, they can really get away with it and put a lot of damage on the Radiant team.
Sure enough. But yeah, as far as matchups go, I gotta say, if they're putting somebody on the safe lane solo, then it probably would mean that they need to put the Magnus there, because Queen of Pain versus Bat Rider is a much more favorable matchup compared to Magnus. Magnus having to turn around and with that sticky napalm, 70% turn rate slow is very limiting in how he can move in for CS, how he turns around to get those shockwaves off, as well as the Skewer. It just really makes it much more difficult. He has to play literally like a charging Rhino every step of the way. through that laning phase. So I would say much more likely to have the Queen of Pain going up against the Bat, assuming that Bat is going to be on the mid lane, and then Magnus is going to be obviously the one who could go by himself either on the suicide lane or just a safe lane if they can go for the aggressive tri lane there. We do see the lifestealer picked up. That's going to be pretty interesting there. So we'll have to kind of compare that and see. The fact of the matter is Queen of Pain is very reliant on getting a lot of magic damage off. Maybe a little bit slow with her Shadow Strike, but lifestealer with that rage can nullify a lot of that rather predictable damage. I mean, it's only a split second between that Screamer Sonic Wave, but it's enough time that a good lifestealer player could easily be able to rage on out of that and dish out the damage he intends to. But the thing is, they really don't have much lockdown right now for the Queen of Pain. I'm curious to see if they just want to go for like the mana leak thing for Keep the Light versus Quap, and every time she blinks it costs her like 3 times as much mana. That could be effective, but other than that, really they need to get some hard lockdown if they're going to be able to get some kills on her.
Yeah, it's going to be curious to see what they follow it up with. We might we'll see how they're going to be laning the Lifestealer. It's a little bit tricky right now. I think Lifestealer, however, fares fairly well against Magnus because while, Rage does not go through the reverse polarity, a lot of Magnus's damage just happens to be magical. The Shockwave does an insane amount of damage. Same with Skewer being quite respectable. He's basically hard countering almost every hero on the Russian lineup because Venomancer doesn't do anything to Batrider. I don't think Venomancer is particularly effective against... Oh, sorry, it doesn't do anything against the Lifestealer. I don't think he's very effective against the Batrider or the Keeper of the Light, as these are heroes that, especially Keeper of the Light, they stand very far back, right? And do their damage from far away. Or the Batrider, he's trying to pull someone out. None of them are going to be very grouped for the Venomancer ulti to kind of do that maximum damage. If the Magnus gets off a very nice RP, between the Queen of Pain and the Venomancer, that's a ton of AoE damage. But, that's a lot of pressure on Magnus to be effective, and without any setup like Darkseer, for example, is going to be tricky.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that, like you said, the Venomancer's Poison Nova could be really good with the Magnus's ultimate. Another thing is Plague Voids are really annoying as a Blink Batrider trying to initiate. Right. You get one little right click from this tiny little pesky green bug, and suddenly you have your Blink Dagger on cooldown. You're not going to be able to jump in there, get your lasso off on who you intend. It just delays your initiation when you see that opening and you just can't go for it. It's very frustrating. But beyond that, I definitely see what you're saying, especially against the Lifestealer there. If you had like a Bane, the damage drain as well as the ultimate would pierce right on through that magic immunity and be able to do a lot there. And even like somebody that has more than one defensive like cooldown, like Crystal Maiden for example, could pop off the Frostbite on either a Batrider that's initiating or the Lifestealer there, and yes, he will be able to rage on out, but at least as soon as that expires, you have a different cooldown to fall back on and be able to try to kite away from that. But one way or another, they're going with the Venom, and hopefully that will work out for them in the laning phase. One way or another, they...
Wouldn't you just feel that, though, like a Shadow Demon, for example, would be a lot more effective, especially against a Batrider as well? And in terms of like defensive disruptions against Illuminate?
I'm always for a Shadow Demon pick in general. I mean, it is such a strong hero that has a lot of potential there. It's combining that, I mean, Queen of Pain going for a solo kill on a Soul Catcher target is so much more effective than just going in by herself with a Venom Gale to help. I mean, it's something, but, even if somebody gets Galed, you can help them out with either Keep the Light Blind or Batrider doing exactly what he does. In general, I really feel like a Shadow Demon would be amazing because of the Demonic Purge and multiple other factors. I think that Crystal Maiden, Shadow Demon, anybody who has actually more than just one disable is going to be pretty effective. And as you stated, the Disruption, you can use that defensively as well. It's kind of like a 2.5 second Ghost Scepter or something along those lines where you take yourself out of the picture for the duration, half of the duration that he's going to be magic immune anyways. So that could be a pretty big factor there. But going on into the bans, we see Beyond the Summit taking out a lot of carries. Do you think that's the right way to draft it up right now since they already have the Lifestealer on board?
Yes, because I think that's really all that the Russian lineup really needs right now, is they need something to kind of like tie it together. And if they go and give away the Luna, or especially the Luna or the PL, I don't know what they'll be able to do, because while we're looking at the Russian lineup as like a very aggressive teamfight lineup, if you also give them a PL, especially, and a Luna to, another degree, they can turtle, These are very good turtling heroes. Magnus just shockwaving down lanes, Queen of Pain with a ton of AoE, Venomancer just, well warded, and, just defending your towers that way. And their lineup's quite aggressive. The Lifestealer, the Batrider, they want to go and get those pickoffs. And they don't want the game to go, to 50-minute situation where you're dealing with a PL that has Butterfly, Heart, Fusel 2, etc., etc. So I think those are very smart bans. The Sven, that's a little bit more questionable, because I would have actually banned out the Shadow Demon here. because the biggest problem with Lifestealer is if he gets when he gets Demonic Purge, he basically turns into a melee creep, and he's just like, you know, shambling along, trying to right click. And it's kind of a sad sight. Holy crap, Ogre Magi, I am so excited.
Yeah, now that's pick. I mean, well, great thing about it is Bloodlust. It helps out Lifestealer a ton, getting that increased attack speed beyond the fact that he has Rage, which amplifies that as well. But also giving him a bit of movement speed boost is always very helpful, because Lifestealer often has to go for phase boots, not because it's a better option stat-wise. I mean, strength, attack speed, really good, as I mentioned, but the fact of the matter is he has a hard time staying on target. Open wounds only will do so much, especially when you have a reverse polarity, and when he's not raged out a skewer to kind of peel off his chase there. So with the Ogre Magi, allowing him to stay on target more so, with the hard stun that will lock down Queen of Pain a bit better, as well as that Bloodlust, it's going to be able to improve Lifestealer's potential magnificently. Of course, Ogre Magi very mana reliant. Keeper Light will help enable them to supplement that, and yeah, overall he's going to be a great pick. But like you're saying, Coddle can also fuel heroes like Earthshaker and other things like that. The reason that you go for an Ogre Magi of a support, not really so much for the multicast, it's all about the Bloodlust and what they can set up to initiate or make sure Lifestealer can stay on point there. So by picking up this Tidehunter here, and presumably not going for the Shadow Demon, I could see Lifestealer becoming a very real threat moving on in towards the rest. But how do you feel about these next two picks?
You know, I think, well, Tidehunter basically says, we're not messing around, don't fight us when we're grouped up, because we'll kill you, right? And then I think these are, like, you know, really good picks from the Beyond the Summit team, because if you look at, you know, definitely the fact about Bloodlust, that's going to be a huge factor in the late game. However, in the early game, between Illuminate, Ogre Magi's Blast, and Visage's Soul Assumption, that's a ton of nuke damage. You can, like, instantly bring down a Venomancer, Queen of Pain. Even, like, you know, an underfarmed Tidehunter, if, like, he gets multicast, is going to go down. Visage does a ton of damage. And the extra stuns that you're going to get in the from the Familiars are going to do a fairly good job. I feel that, you know, even with the Ogre Magi pickup, though, they don't have quite enough lockdown to really keep the Queen of Pain down. They're going to need to dedicate maybe a lasso to make sure she actually dies. But, okay, and there's a Faceless Void. This is the team fight lineup, you know? This is like the quintessential team fight lineup. I wouldn't be surprised to even see the Faceless Void do that Loda build, where he just goes for the Midas, you know, Mjolnir, and just generates a ton of lightning.
Yeah. That would be
very excited to see it.
Very effective if they want us to go for the combat Faceless Void rather than just farm. But one thing I gotta say about their current lineup, like you said, amazing in team fights. Those ultimates are gonna be such a big factor. But what about the times in between those when their ultimates are on cooldown? If they don't have a Ravage, they have a bunch of slows essentially. Time Walk, Gale, Sting. We do have a quick. Alright, so jumping back on into it, this is hopefully the last remake we will ever need. And we were talking a lot about the Ogre Magi pick and how that synergized in an interesting and unique way. But one thing that was in my mind was, how are they going to lane it? Turns out they're not going to lane it. They're not going to put the Ogre at all. They're going to take that out because honestly, that's what they didn't intend. There was a misclick or whatever. They picked the Lone Druid. Now they're doing an all-pick phase to rewrap that up. A little bit chaotic, a little bit weird, but we'll go with it. We do see the final lineup for Beyond the Summit being Lone Druid, Keeper Light, Visage, Lifestealer, and Batrider. So just completely nix the Ogre Magi. Get one-shot him with a Vendetta or whatever. But anyways, he is off the board. We're seeing the Lone Druid in. And now we'll finally get on into it as soon as this 5-second period resolves. And of course, I am still Blaze, joined by Rainmaker, going on into this game, finally, after a long wait. And you're muted, man. But other than that...
No, I'm not.
Excellent.
Okay, so, yeah, that was very interesting. That was a very interesting game. So, you know, I think the Lone Druid makes a lot more sense, but I gotta say, this team actually wants Bloodlust even more now, between the Lone Druid and his bear. So, it's going to be interesting. But, you know, I just want to kind of commend the Russian lineup here for not, you know, throwing a fit over it and just being like, yes, this is a staff tourney, let's have fun, and you know what, just take your bear. We've remade this game 6 times, let's just go play.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have been a little bit frustrated after that, like, 4th remake, trying to go, oh, we picked the wrong thing. Well, you know what, things happen. And in this situation, with nothing really on the line but a little bit of pride, I think they took the better route and just, you know, said, okay, you take your bear,
30 seconds
and we'll just beat
showtime.
you with that anyways. But as I was saying a little bit about their lineup, the Dota 2 Russian set here, the squad, as far as Radiant, actually we see right now a Time Walk and a Gush starting off a McDreamy, and that is LD completely caught out. He might get denied now. He's just going to get right-click down with Venomancer picking up the last hit with that Gale and right-click. So starting off really, really nicely, Rusak going to be able to get first blood there and probably can get a flying courier or something, maybe even just boots, whatever he needs to get off the ground and make sure Faceless Void has a very easy time right here. But we do see this aggressive tri-lane coming out with Cyborg, Matt, Bruno, and LD on the bottom, trying to go and go up against this one. How do you feel about this 3v3 matchup here?
I don't think this is very good for the Dire. Like, I mean, just like the minus armor, this, like, there are all slows, right? But it's not like there's a ton of lockdown at level, before level 6 on the Dire lineup. Actually, by like not a ton, I mean there's none. They have open wounds and the what is it, chilling gaze? What is it? Grave chill coming out, and those are really good, right? But just additional minus armor, the additional damage coming from the slows on the Radiant side is going to be enough to go and kind of make it work.
Well, they're going aggressive for the time being. They don't have Grave Shield right now, just a Soul Assumption. The Gush will delay Bruno a little bit, but with that Illuminate, it's enough damage. Yeah, just barely. Going with that rank 1 Soul Assumption. It does cost a lot of mana. Rank 1 is 170 mana, but they just went for it. They knew how much damage potential this could go, and like I said before, Illuminate is one of the most powerful rank 1 nukes because of the fact that it can go up to 200, but you got to compare that to the Soul Assumption, which can do so much damage if you max out those souls to 3. So right off the bat, they're doing about 200 damage apiece, and they know they have large bursts. So if not the disable, all they need is a little bit of slow setup to get them going, but of course, they're going to need that Chakra Magic to keep Bruno rolling, because right now he of course just has right click damage, does not have anything beyond that.
They basically went through LD a bone there after, he's like, you know what, you gave me 400 gold, here's 200 back, we can be buddies. Because I don't think that can really happen again, right? It's basically come down to the Veno being in a kind of sloppy position, and no one being able to quite follow up. This lane, I gotta say, it's still pretty much in the favor of the Radiant lineup. If they allow Coddle to get too much impact, though, I feel that's going to change, because basically free mana Soul Assumptions is going to be a lot of damage.
Yeah, I honestly just have to agree to disagree on this one, because I believe Soul Assumption is just so powerful in a 3 versus 3 circumstance. I mean, Visage used to be the king of 3v3, and I still believe he has a claim to that throne. So along those lines, there is a lot of damage and slow potential, but they put all this damage on here. He doesn't have rage, so Bruno's actually going to take a lot of damage. Will there be enough to force Faceless Void back? Illuminate comes on through, but does not hit on the same target as the Soul Assumption, so Bruno taking a lot. The Gale will bring him low, but with the Tango, should be able to survive. Just going to take one more tick of that, and we'll be able to go on through, because it is only rank 1, but has to fall back until the salve is popped off. But in the meantime, Tidehunter taking a big chunk of damage. I mean, just a small sliver, but he didn't have much to begin with, and so Cyborg forcing him back for the time being, but we'll have to kind of do back-to-back Chakra Magic to make sure that they can actually keep that pressure rolling.
Yeah,
in mid, okay, there is a kill on mid. The Haste Rune is not enough for the Batrider to get on out, and that is going to be a nice little solo kill, putting Queen of Pain's experience per minute up to 530 with a nice quick pick off there.
And she was actually just sending back for the bottle, so she's gonna go and have her bottle, have her boots. That's pretty much complete rune control against this Batrider, who is sitting at bottle GG branch. You're already behind when it comes to runes when you're dealing with the Queen of Pain, and now it's going to be even worse. This Queen of Pain is going to be able to apply a lot of pressure, almost level 6, against a Batrider who's not even level 4. So going to be quite tricky to go and beat this Queen of Pain now.
Yeah. Now, one thing, we haven't really talked much about the top lane because there isn't too much to report on. Plain and simple, Lone Druid is going to be able to control the last hits much more effectively with the presence and the lane presence that Bear provides. However, he's not going to be able to shut down Magnus. Versus is still going to be able to get some experience, and actually, no, not too much happening in the mid. A little bit of back and forth, but in the end, it's just going to be harassment from both heroes' mechanics there. Either way, though, like I said, Lone Druid will be able to get his free farm, as far as relatively free farm, as far as creep kills go, but they're not going to be able to deny Magnus' experience, and he will get that polarity. But now we do see Tidehunter taking some damage right here. The Illuminate will come on through. As soon as that comes forth, the Soul Assumption, big damage coming on to Advan, and he might go down just from the right click here. He indeed will, so McDreamy picking up that kill, and LD coming out with 720 gold. That's early in the game. It's really nice.
Yeah, I know. I mean, especially when you think, what would you say the itemization for Visage should be? I mean, I think Arcane Boots are a must just due to mana requirements, but beyond that, maybe an urn or something just to go and make you even more effective as a ganker.
Well, I like this magic stick pickup.
This is the 100% right item. Yeah, that is correct.
Because Blight Wards will be giving a charge every single time he tries to put them down, if he does at all. And other than that, it's just 3v3.
Smash, those are really good spells. But beyond that, like, we don't see Visage a lot, and I gotta say, like, I think, just kind of getting those utility support items is really good.
We do see
Looks like they're going
yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to have the lockdown, though. They just, I mean, with only, like you said, all they have is that open wounds and that grave chill, and with LD not being able to get in range for the grave chill, that's pretty much sums it up. They start things, they do a little bit of right-click damage, but just poking them back, kind of same thing happening up top versus, does he have the Orb of Venom on the bear? He does not, so he's not going to get as much harass as he could, but who's that Pokemon? Whichever player he may be, God's Winter or Pyrion, I'm assuming not Pyrion, controlling the lane so effectively, but one way or another.
Yeah, Pyrion would have like a godlike streak by now. I'm pretty sure that's how we can tell.
Sure enough. So, yeah, beyond that, it's just the harassment has been going on through back and forth. There is the Gale popping off on nobody because of the immunity through the... And now with so much damage, that Soul Assumption is amazing. Now Bruno taking a lot of damage, though. One more right click, all they need to burn him down. But Advan is in a very aggressive position right here. Cyborg Matt wants to be able to channel his Illuminate, but he's in such a bad position versus 2 melee. He can't really stop and turn around, so the Gush comes through. The Time Walk won't be available, though, so they need the Bash. There goes one last right click. All they need, Queen of Pain coming in from the back to actually pick up that kill, go for the Scream on a Visage. He will pick up the Tidehunter kill, but that's going to be his last will. There won't be a deny coming on through. Now Bruno manning up against a level 7 Queen of Pain. Probably a mistake. He's going to fall back from there, but does get bashed up. Scream. Does Atsuki want to go? No. Going to be able to fall back from there, but nevertheless, good TP in, or just flanking. I'm not sure how he got there, but one way or another, once he got to the battlefield, he was able to make a nice impact and make sure that Keep the Light dropped down.
I just want to go and point out the skill build from the Queen of Pain. Since she was able to get that early level kill, she did not decide to go for the level 2 Shadow Strike, which means she had earlier access into her ultimate. And this kind of build where you have 4 and Scream and your ultimate at level 7 is pretty non-standard these days. But if you're ahead, it allows you to do so much in the side lanes and do a tremendous amount of damage. She's slipping a little bit in just controlling her lane against the Batrider. And I think that's a conscious decision. Since she is losing bot, or rather the Radiant team has been losing bot so badly, she decided to go for a slightly more aggressive build to kind of make up for that.
Sure enough, completely agree with you there.
Top lane, I think this Magnus is having a really sad time. If this was an Orb of Venom on the bear, I think he might actually have some success getting a kill, especially at level 5 with that, or rather level 7. Just entangling.
Yeah, exactly. He's got such a nice level advantage right now. I mean, Magnus will be hitting 7 soon, but he doesn't have the mana to really get anything out of that there. And in the end, it just means that the Lone Druid is going to be able to do that much more on the lane. We'll continue to put pressure on him. As soon as Magnus leaves, that tower will be forfeit. It's already dropped down to 700 HP, but with Demolish on the bear, it's just going to do so much damage over time. That's going to be setting them up for success very effectively there. But I got to say, Tidehunter right now not doing so hot on level on the bottom lane. He's actually down near where support would be, level 3, level 4, since they're not getting the kills favorably other than that Queen of Pain gank, and that means that it's going to be a little bit of delayed Ravage. He's not going to get shut down. It's not going to be like 12 minutes in the game he's not going to have Ravage, but the sooner he has it, the more he can really start winning team fights, start turning things around with a big initiation. I mean, Bruno being the only one that can nullify it at this stage in the game.
Yep. I think, while they're behind, it's pretty comparable to the levels on the Keeper of the Light. So, all the supports are going to be fairly poor this game, except for LD, who's been, being able to snipe those kills with Soul Assumption. It's going to come down to how much impact I feel the mid-heroes can have. This Batrider, he got hurt in lane a little bit, but it looks like he's going for a straight Blink Rush, getting a little bit lucky in finding the Haster in top. Let's see if he makes anything happen with that. But, however much pressure this Queen of Pain and the Batrider decide to put on the bot lane is kind of decided. It looks like the Magnus has decided to wander down here. He's kind of forfeiting that top tower, and I'm not sure how good of an idea that is, because, you never want to just feed a Lone Druid gold.
Yeah, as soon as he realizes that, pops off the True Form, the Battle Cry, and we'll just be going to town on that tower, dropping it down. It's going to be forfeit in just a moment's time. I mean, they have the fortification, but not really a point in wasting it, as in one way or another it will fall.
Okay, well,
they dropped it for the time being. They're keeping in. Yeah, Yellow wants to
get
contest it. Just popping off a little bit of Shadow Strike damage as well as Scream. Going for the deny now. Siege Creep, and now one right click from Atsuki, and well worth it. They're going to get the deny. So
I was so worried that Siege would get it.
No. Base attack time. And bottom lane, though, McDreamy taking a lot of damage. Goes for the Soul Assumption. Faces Void. Doesn't backtrack down to 50 HP, but has Mask Madness. Life stealing up now on the run. No. One right click. Amplified by 30%. Cyborg Matt picks up that kill to end the killing spree. But now Batrider doing so much right here. Has the lasso on the Venomancer. Wants to keep the Napalm up on Magnus and going to be able to bring both of them down most likely. Yes. With that Illuminate securing multiple kills. So the Visage did fall. Chronosphere was popped. And, of course, they did get the Knight on top tower, but other than that, it's 3 kills. Very effective for Bruno to get a lot of early golden experience, looking for that armlet as soon as possible.
You know, I gotta say, like, while Mask of Madness is really good on Faceless Void, just in terms of like the extra attack speed you get in Chrono and the extra move speed you get during fights, I don't know if I would get it against a Visage's Soul Assumption, because you're really setting yourself up to just, like, immediately die if you're not paying enough attention.
Speaking of, he does have rank 3 Time Walk, but here comes just the Grave Chill on the open wounds. That will not get disjointed, so the main Soul Assumption is going to get another kill, and I see exactly what you mean. Rank 4 Soul Assumption doesn't cost that much as mana, as far as mana goes, but boy does it hurt as far as damage goes. I mean, it's just insane how much you can output on him. So amplifying that by the 30%, as we've already talked about, it's more of a double-edged sword that's non-favorable until you get some beefy items like a BKB.
Yeah, you know what's actually rather peculiar is we're seeing Cyborg Matt go for a first item. No, okay, it's just like he had enough money. He's going for both at the same time. Normally you see a first item buckler, and I'm always curious when I say a first item headdress because I assume that there's a plan behind that, or you try to push really aggressively, or someone else is going for the mech and you're making a pipe. But just a little bit interesting there. Matt, this Lone Druid, taking a look at his farm, it feels like, he's not quite as rich as he should be, given that he had a completely free lane. Yeah, he's sitting at 46 last hits in 10 minutes, and, that's not bad, right? But that's kind of what you would assume in a slightly contested lane. Oh my god, bot lane.
Missed that, unfortunately. Yeah. I don't know why, but yeah, just checking out a bunch of different farm things, just as you were, the stats there. Yeah. But Invis has popped off on Adski. They did pick up the kill on the Bat Rider, which will, of course, delay his potential there. Actually, it looks like Boots of Travel has been picked up, and so that means that Agent 07, Bat Rider is going to be able to be very mobile on the map, but beyond that,
oh my god,
polarity on the bear. Ooh, versus Gen 1. They want the kill on Lone Druid, they probably will get it, but it's still popping off that cooldown for not too much benefit there. So the Magnus picks up the kill, will get a nice little trophy for that, 281 gold. But Lone Druid, of course, has his bear up pretty much when he respawns, and with that won't be too big of a deal. Nice Illuminate charging up, going to do a lot of damage to Rusak, but won't be actually able to hit him. And with that, of course, no Soul Assumption charges will be acquired. That's Soul Assumption radius, as far as the way it reveals damage and is able to create charges for the Visage. 1375 radius. It just assumes them so effectively. Now they're going to go for a nice little push, and with this mech almost available, they can continue to do that. But now the Chronosphere popped off, going to be doing quite a bit of damage to Visage specifically. You can pop off one Soul Assumption before he drops, but Adski coming in and popped off that ultimate already. Now looking for the Scream. Nice stun action on the Advan, but Visage is already down. Now there is a little bit of retaliation with the Bat Rider coming on in, and Bruno wants a piece of this. He does have armlet, he does have boots, but with his cooldowns unavailable, they're just going to go for a very gradual push. They jumped in, Faceless Void jumped on in, he popped off his Mask of Madness, got a nice chrono, but that's just the problem, is you're always going to end up dropping down, throwing yourself in with your base HP. He only has 34 strength right now, and that doesn't translate into very effective health. So
yeah, I mean, he's basically gave his life for about 2 supports. I think if the Tidehunter had mana for his Ravager, it would be a completely different fight, but without that, they really shouldn't be engaging. Just the amount of damage Soul Assumption does, and you're playing against a Bat Rider who has bots. It's a little bit too much to fight in the early game, and that's another tower. And while I was saying earlier that this Lone Druid, who honestly isn't quite as farmed as he should be, but he is, if you go and give him like this kind of tower gold, it doesn't really matter. He's going to catch up.
Sure enough. And the supports are getting more and more farm as these towers kind of fall by the wayside. Now looking at Roshan, they should be able to do it unless there's some contest, but the Radiant do have wards, might have an idea of just generally the direction that every single one of the Dire members was going. I mean, it's a little bit obvious in that sense, but with Lifesteal having the armlet, as long as he doesn't get bashed too much, he can do quite a bit there, but the Spirit Bear is going to take the brunt of the damage for the time being, and it looks like the Light's just going to stand on out, make sure the waves don't push out too aggressively. Cyborg a little bit too early on that, but all in all, not going to change too much one way or another. So they're looking to counterward. They're smoking in.
They have Ravage and the RP.
This could be big.
They can actually fight this.
But Roche only has 1300 HP. They have to go, and Cyborg Matt getting gilled up for the time being. The Ravage does pop off. They're going to finish Roche, though. They're going to try to anyways. It looks like LD. There's nice reverse polarity on couple. They're going to look for Roche steal right here. The Infest comes on through. A lot of damage, but it's going to be Queen of Pain with the Aegis Radiant with the last hit on it. And now it's just a duel in the middle of the pit. Hard to see what's going on with them all stacked up in one spot. But with that nice shockwave, they're going to be able to bring down 2. The Creeper Light and the Lone Druid, of course, and they did get a buyback from the Faceless Void. He's going to try to come on back on in, but Tidehunter getting pulled up the cliff right now. Bruno taking a lot of damage. Armlet toggle is what he's looking for. Not going to get it with Adski's Scream. Now turning it around a little bit, looking for McDreamy. Is there Stone Form? There's one. Now looking for a second one. Now Faceless Void finally back on in. He's going to be able to help clean it up. Adski with the double kill. And, of course, Aegis intact. So they got a huge advantage from that. Not only with the kills, they did pop the Faceless Void's buyback, and he is their hard carry, very item reliant, but one thing is the Queen of Pain getting that Aegis, getting the last hit on Roshan, and of course just dominating in the middle of that fight. So all in all, pretty awesome for D2R.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was a pretty great fight. And, again, like, that wasn't the perfect fight. The Venom didn't hit, the primary targets it was going for. So it's kind of like, again, we're seeing kind of similar to last game. This is the power of an AoE lineup, a lineup that doesn't really joke around. These are all heroes that want to get in one big fight. If you're going to fight in a Roche pit with a Tidehunter ult up and with an RP up, you need to be way more ahead than the Dire lineup was at that point. So, like, Armlet just isn't going to cut it, is what I'm trying to say.
So, interesting pickup for the Venomancer, picking up the Arcane Boots right now. I understand the mindset behind getting Arcanes on the Magnus and on the Venomancer to try to continue to sustain all across the battlefield in general, but the fact that he didn't go for rank 4 Plague Wards kind of indicates that they don't intend to push very much. They kind of want to go for a turtle lineup that makes sure that Faceless Void can farm up, get his late game potential there, possibly going for Treads or Maelstrom. I don't generally recommend just straight Bound Boots on Faceless Void, since you can get a lot better stats out of alternatives of upgrades, but one way or another they're going to try to get farm in the Faceless Void, get him some more effective HP, get him to rank up backtrack after that time lock and get some benefits out of that so he can actually be a threat in the fights. But along those lines, picking up the Arcane Boots, it doesn't really help that mindset because, Gale and the Poison Nova don't really cost that much mana-wise. So all in all, I don't really know if the second Arcane Boots is necessary at this stage compared to just better warding and better maybe going for the mechanism pretty early, because there's no other mech carrier really.
Well, actually, I gotta say that, just getting the Arcane Boots is pretty necessary, because if you look at on the team, right, there are a lot of pretty low cooldown, reasonable amount of cost nukes, and, since the Tidehunter doesn't have any, you need, someone to pick them up. So yeah, while ideally maybe you'd get the Tidehunter to go and pick up the Arcanes, he looks like he's in the more of the 5 position, and this is a team that really wants 2 apiece of Arcane Boots.
Queen of Pain picked up.
Meanwhile, Lifestealer goes and takes down a really big spree on that Queen of Pain.
Yeah, I mean, that is the second time that she dropped down, because you did have Agency Immortal. We do actually miss a kill up top. Lone Druid getting ganked up with the Polarity Pop from Magnus and Venomancer, so good mobility there, and despite not having a Blink Dagger, getting the initiation he needed to bring down Lone Druid, so that is effective there. But the bigger deal, I gotta say, is that Queen of Pain kill. She did die twice with the Aegis. They used the Batrider's Firefly to make sure that she couldn't blink into the trees and try to TP away, so locking her down very effectively. Lifestealer and Agent 007 really effective on that, and they can push really hard in this 12-second time period. They are obviously having kind of more of a mindset to do that with the Lone Druid on their team and with the Keeper of the Light continuously illuminating on down. So generally speaking, they can put some pressure on towers whenever they get a kill, and that's generally what they intend to do. But that blink on Batrider just being so instrumental in setting up kills like that, very, very essential for what they want to keep on doing in this game here.
Yeah, I mean, he really needs to exert a lot of pressure, because they're basically playing with a single carrier right now. The Lone Druid, he's going to have to, I think, kind of audible into that AOE 2000 Lightning build, because this Radiance time is going to be a little bit too late. We're already seeing the working, pretty tanky on the supports, not due to any items, for example, but the levels are getting a little bit high, and Tidehunter is just naturally pretty tanky, already sitting at 1000 HP. The Radiance just isn't going to do enough, in my opinion.
Now we're trying to see a flank to gank with the smoke. They do have a Dire Ward in the middle lane, and although they will walk over that, it won't reveal anything based on, of course, the concept of the smoke of deceit. So they'll just walk on through, and they're going to be walking right up towards Cyborg Matt, who's just happily farming creeps, but that may be cut short pretty rapidly as the Queen of Pain can blink in, start things off on the Lone Druid. The Chronosphere to deliver the hurt. I'm not sure if they need to pop the cooldown with all 5 of them there, but now they're going to kind of fall back. Bruno really needs to get on out of there, and actually pursuing the Cyborg Matt with that ultimate, they're going to be able to bring him down. So Adski picking up a nice kill there, turning things around. No, it's just going to be a bunch of illusions. Okay. So there's a Poison Nova popped as well. So that's just Dota 2 RU committing a lot of ultimates, and I mean, they're going to fall back from here, great, but I don't know if they needed to pop that. They could have kind of turned into like a tier 2 tower push with the Lone Druid again dead, and this time his bear will be down for 40 seconds. They could easily take down a tier 1 tower and put some pressure on the tier 2 if they had their Chrono, if they had their Venomous Gale, Poison Nova. I keep on mixing those. I think the Sonic Wave was necessary, but the other 2 probably could have been put in reserve so that they could actually put some more pressure on the tower specifically.
Well, I mean, given that the Poison Nova didn't hit anything, I would say it's pretty, safe to say that he wasted it. But, beyond that, I think they were basically, bot lane, it looks like the Faceless Void is about to get picked.
Yeah, he doesn't have any mana, so I can't time walk on out. Grave Chill underneath the Firefly. Just obliterated right there, very effective pick off, and he just, wasn't really in the position that he needed to be. Blink Dagger being just very effective to keep the kills coming.
Yeah, I think, this Battle Rider is doing exactly what he needs to. He's almost got a 4-staff as well, but basically, the Faceless Void didn't farm particularly well in the lane phase. Meanwhile, top, it looks like Cyborg Matt is going to get picked off again by this Queen of Pain.
Nice work.
But, yeah, they played that really well. But, it looks like, so the Faceless Void didn't get the farm, and, you know, his team's being really aggressive on the map. But they're kind of saying, okay, you can be aggressive, right? But our Nyx is farming, our Lone Druid's getting some items too. And yeah, it is going to be that lightning landing hammer build.
Okay, so look for Batrider right now. I don't know if they're going to be able to get him though, because the blink, I mean, would put him in a very aggressive position. They're just going to go and relegate themselves to tier 1 tower. The fortification is popped for the time being, so following them back for the time being. They don't have the creep wave until just now. I'm not sure if they can really reinforce this push here, but at least we're able to force out some action from Batrider. His blink is on cooldown, he's on low life, and he's going to have to fall back. But Travelus, man, very, very efficient. You can TP in and out over and over, and it doesn't cost you a dime more than you've already invested in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, and they're basically keeping the Faceless Void down, and eventually that's all that's going to matter, right? Either the Faceless Void is going to be able to do damage in the late game once BKBs get up, or he's not. And right now, he's just not in a really good position. I'm hoping to see some really, like, cost-effective items. Normally you'd see a crit here, but I just think that, you know, if you're playing, unless you get, like, the really money Chronosphere, reverse polarity type stuff, crit's just not going to be enough. So maybe, like, you know, Maelstrom of his own and a BKB, just to go and, like, jump in there, do a lot of damage. And he doesn't need to do a ton just because of the amount of AoE his team has and the fact he is going to get empowered by that Magnus.
Alright, so we do see some action with Agent 007 having Bruno inside him with the Infest. Pretty big game potential, but Cyborg Man is going to get picked off now. Infest will come on through. Do they have the damage during this? They do pop off the Flame Break to try to finish the job, but I don't know if it's enough. They don't have any more stuns. Atsuki is just going to walk away, and not enough Napalm stack's not going to be able to finish the job there. So, unfortunately, yeah, Cyborg Matt getting picked off, and yeah, Queen of Pain just going to walk away there with a pretty short cooldown on ulti. 70 seconds right now, and in a couple levels it'll only be 40. So, nice Aghanims pick up there. In general, has been using her ultimate very effectively there. And, yeah, getting on out without any trouble. That's the problem when you don't have that much hard lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, like, very good awareness to know that, okay, they stunned me, I'm safe now. But maybe I think the next item for this, yeah, it looks like it is in fact going to be an MKB coming up for the Lifestealer. It's not going to help that much against the Faceless Void, given the fact that Backtrack is a pseudo-evasion mechanic and doesn't, you know, you can't actually MKB it. But it's going to be, you know, good in the late game because one of the items that Faceless Void gets to if the game goes like 50 minutes is in fact what's the word I'm looking for? Butterfly. Wow, man, it is a little bit too early on the West Coast, man.
Sure enough. But we do see a lot of aggression on the Tier 1, and the one thing is mechanisms are going to be coming out pretty soon, and when that comes into play, the game is going to shift quite a bit to who pops what when, pretty much. If they can keep people alive effective enough throughout the Chronosphere, throughout the Ravage, BTS is going to have a much better team lineup. They just have to make sure, of course, that 5-man Chronosphere, 5-man polarities aren't happening. And if they can avoid that, generally speaking, the longer the fight goes on, the more damage potential they're going to have with the Bear, with the Firefly, with even Visage contributing a lot over the course of the fight if he can invest his full mana pool into Soul Assumption after Soul Assumption here. But a lot of Tier 1 damage. It is going to be a nice little bit of Illuminate. And Agent 007 trying to jump in, faces Void. He pops off the Chrono on just one plus the Familiars, but it might be enough to bring him down on the northern end. There's a beautiful Reverse Polarity, Ravage, and a Sonic Wave coming on through. Lone Druid going to drop as well. Beautiful initiation, setting them up for many, many kills, but a little bit of turnaround by LD. Going to be able to put some damage on Tidehunter, but won't be enough, I don't think. There comes Bruno trying to right-click on down. There's the Armlet Toggle, keeping him alive, brings down Rosak. Will there be another Armlet Toggle? He does get it off. He is going to be able to help out, killing off Versus as well. Atsuki on low life, Soul Assumption, no mana, Magic Wand on 3-second cooldown, won't be able to bring her down. So, all in all, that was an interesting fight that turned out not as favorable for D2R as I thought it would be. Based on their amazing initiation, really good behind the tower reverse polarity, and the Ravage, of course, contributing a lot. But Batrider, did he buy back? No, he's still in there. He is popping off that and going to be able to kill the Queen of Pain. So,
and that's a wipe.
All in all, there were no buybacks committed. That was just straight up. They've killed all 5 of D2R's team, and for the time being, have denied their Tier 1 tower. So, of course, that will negate a lot of the gold they could have acquired from that set. So, all in all, really, really nice fight for BTS, even though there was some solid initiation from D2R.
I think, the problem there was the Faceless Void, he went in, he chronoed, he got the Bear and 2 Familiars, which is, surprisingly good, considering he also got the Batrider, right? But he can't solo kill. Even with that Mask of Madness, he doesn't have the damage to solo kill a Batrider. And, the RP behind the tower, the Gush, the Ravage, they were all pretty good, but they needed to go and, get that Batrider, because then they immediately lost their their Faceless Void. They were kind of out of position behind the tower. The Batrider was still alive. There was a Visage that was just, I think 3 Soul Assumptions got off that fight. And if you have 3 fully charged Soul Assumptions, like, running at you in a fight, you're probably going to lose that fight. Meanwhile, they go and, this is a pretty safe Roshan. Nothing to contest them, and Lifestealer picks up an Aegis.
Pretty safe, but one thing I gotta say...
Basher, that's the item. I was like, there's an item that bashes that has a Javelin in it.
Sure enough. But they do a little bit of Infest gank trying to bring down Versus, and with that nice stun, they're actually going to be able to bring him down, but they do get reverse polarity for the time being. Gale pops off on a couple, but won't be able to follow it up with the ultimate, doesn't want to. Just going to try to get out of there with that, but the Flame Break going to give him a nudge in the right direction. I think he might be able to actually survive for the time being. Scream and Shadow Wave, a nice gush trying to bring down Batrider with a 4-staff out of the ultimate. Cyborg Matt drops down on the back end of things. Chronosphere popped off on the Keeper Light, already dead, so now he's just going to duel it out with a bunch of people on him, just going to get completely right-clicked down. Entangle proc, of course, securing that kill. So another Gale coming on through. They're not going to be able to follow up beyond that, but they've taken what they came for. They got the carry kill again. This completely underfarmed Faceless Void is having a really hard time, and the polarity was popped as well as just Magnus dropping down himself. So really good way to start things off and make sure that Lone Druid can, and of course the Lifestealer as well, can make sure they have all the damage they need as they move towards the mid game.
Man, this is like the biggest Russian Dota Faceless Void I've seen in a while. Like, he goes and sees a Batrider TPing out, so he time walks in, trying to bash him. I do not, man, the bravery of that, He just goes in, faces his death, and hopes he will get a kill with his bash proccing.
Sure enough. Well,
did you do that, Blaze?
The RNG. You got to play your cards right sometimes, and occasionally it will pay off there. So it's just kind of circumstantial. But in the end, obviously not getting in the position he wanted to survive. Now he's actually going for a Crystallis. So right now he only has +8 strength from the power treads. That does put him at a total of 50 strength or 1100 HP. But you got to remember, when Mask of Madness is popped, aka in the middle of the fight where he Chronospheres, it's going to be a 30% damage amplification of what he receives. So that's going to cut him down to an effective HP of not even 800, and that, we've seen how big Illuminate the Soul Assumptions can be, and now Visage, Batrider jumping in with Bruno inside him, going to be able to burn him down immediately. So yeah, just no hope, completely picked off, and you got to say, when he's up by his own river by himself, even like Adski nearby won't be able to change your fate in that circumstance. And they see him. They have the Firefly, so he's going to have to blink away. He will go to the south. He's still technically in the trees, though. I'm not sure if they have any way. The Illuminate will not clip on her, so Adski will be fine. And now we actually see Magnus jumping in. Possible reverse polarity on 2. Now there's a big ultimate, but only hitting on the bear, as well as the Ravage going on through. Now the Nova to finish things off, but Visage doing a lot of damage right here, turning things around. The pipe came out from Visage. The mech is up as well, so now they're going to be doing so much damage to Advent. Looking for get a bash on Rusak. He's going to fall. Now looking for Queen of Pain. Adski, they don't have hard lockdown. He's going to blink away, but the tier 2 tower might be what they're looking for here now that they've taken 3 in the grave once more.
I didn't really consider this, but it's pretty good.
One thing, just a second, Adski actually got a kill on the Lone Druid in the northern end. He did get hit by that ultimate, so he did, and the Ravage, so dropped down pretty hard, but I did not expect Adski to be able to clean that up on the back end. Now running for his life with no TP scroll, and Agent 07 will not let him go. He's continuing to napalm, has the Blink Dagger up, he's just going to keep on him no matter what. Possibly just a mana leak. Oh no, mana leak, no points of mana leak, but just some right clicks is sufficient. No Force Nav, no Blink. Adski might be able to get away. The range creep following as well. 8 stacks, though, so slow. Blinks again once more. Now visible, trying to die to neutral, is not going to get it with the Flame Break to finish the job. That was a very long chase, but in the end, Queen of Pain, I would say the most important hero for D2R, is finally finished. So that is going to be a 1 minute. They don't really have that potential to initiate with her.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny chase. But also, I'd like to point out, man, Cyborg Matt has had a rough time this fight. Every time he goes and shows up, he just gets Sonic Wave, Scream of Pain, and dies immediately. And that's kind of the danger. He does have the mechanism now, but I feel like, at some point you just kind of got to give it and buy some bracers. But, yeah, beyond that, it's, Visage is really, really good against Venomancer, right? And I didn't realize this, while I was going, but the way that Poison Over works, right, is it's damage over time, and it, is pretty slow ticking, but it's a ton of damage, right? That's why it's such a good spell. But that means the Soul Assumption nukes are always going to be full, right? Exactly. And no one on your team is going to be immediately dead as it's proccing. So you're basically trading the damage over time from the Venomancer to getting a ton of burst damage that can be targeted
Very true.
on your enemy Visage. So in a strange way, it's kind of like a counter pick there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit weird. I mean, there's always a lot of damage going back and forth in those 5v5 exchanges, but the fact is, with that Poison Nova active on more than 2 targets, guaranteed he will have that Soul Assumption max every single cooldown, and it being only a 4-second cooldown means, yeah, you can do a front-loaded damage over and over on all the squishy targets and turn it into like a 2-man, 2 versus 3, 2 versus 4, whatever. You just drop down a couple heroes really early on, and yeah, the Venomancer Nova will continue to tick and continue to deliver a lot of non-fatal damage, but from there, you can just, you know, be in lifestealer with that armlet, use it to toggle, know that you're not going to die from that dot, and stay doing what you need to do. So, plain and simple, they're a lot less afraid of the Poison Nova than they should be of Visage's Soul Assumption. And of course, that pipe being instrumental. I gotta say, Visage has played these heat bites effectively, very, very effectively, and really shown his strength as a pick, not only on the bottom lane, but now that we're branching into 5v5.
And here's the Batrider going and getting another kill.
Yeah, nice initiation.
This kind of like, you know, this is like, you know, Air Force One here. Yeah,
no chrono at all available, so I mean that's going to be probably losing teamfight right off the bat. The Nova hits on a couple, but not that big of a deal. And there isn't a Tangle proc on the Tidehunter. Gets Kraken Shell again, interrupted twice over, despite Kraken Shell procs trying to Ravage literally twice, but both timed entangled up to the point where he realizes, oh screw it, it's not even going to matter. And so he just gives it up. They don't get the chrono, they don't get the Tidehunter Ravage, and now the only casualty is going to be a little bit of an over-aggressive Batrider, but beyond that, yeah, they don't have anything right here. The Blink Magnus is not going to be set up anything, especially with the Sonic Wave on CD, so that's a free kill for the tower. And yeah, now oh my gosh, there is TP buyback. Ravage comes off finally. Now Bruno's going to drop down right here during the disable. McDreamy has everything he needs, but he's going to just take too much damage. Most likely fall right here, just a little bit more. Queen of Pain, Adski, distracted by the Keeper Light though, and it looks like it's enough with the Grave Chill. No, Blink, Shockwave, they want to bring him down, but Grave Chill will come up once more. Will versus get the Shockwave in time, in range. He's going to spam it out, but it's not going to hit. LD going to be able to get on out of there. Adski in pursuit with the Regeneration Rune, has unlimited mana now. The Familiars don't see it, and it's going to be able to finish off LD right here with double kill for Adski in the long run. Picking off the Keeper Light and through a long chase, turning the tables. And pretty much the exact same thing that we saw last time around with Queen of Pain on the run. We saw that with the Visage running for his life throughout that, and I guess farming up a free creep wave to push down the tower as well. One way or another.
You know what's crazy is that the Radiant is actually ahead on kills at this point. Yeah, this is like, if there was a team, right, that like, I think the Dire is, they're very far ahead, right? They're very far ahead. But you still have to be careful. If there is one team that can come back, it's a team with a Faceless Void, a Magnus, a Queen of Pain, a Tidehunter, and a Venom. Like, the amount they can do in fights, if you're not careful, is backbreaking. So, that kind of initiation there, without an Aegis to work with, you know, without just a ton of items, it's not safe. And they really need to go and make sure they don't do that too many times. Because the reason they're winning is because this Faceless Void has no items. If he manages to pick up a BKB, right? Yeah. Just a BKB, the entire game is going to not turn around, but, you know, move heavily in towards the Radiant. And that's a Scythe of Ice on the Queen of Pain.
Now Tidehunter is getting ultied up. He does have that Kraken Shell, but hasn't popped off yet. And now with that Flame Break, the Firefly has expired though. Agent of 7, over-aggressive, underestimated his opponent, and with that Tide will barely survive and be able to walk away from that with a free Batrider just handing his life over. There was up on top, while you're talking about that, a little cheeky play with LD and his Familiars trying to get a deny on the tower, but just barely misses it by a sliver. And unfortunately that of course means that the Tier 1 tower kill provides a little bit of a gold reclaiming a little bit of their disadvantage. So moving back towards 5,000 gold difference in favor of BTS for the time being. But yeah, all in all, with that ultimate popped off, getting like 10 creeps as well as a free kill, it's just like easy farming for Adski, being able to get a lot of effective money. And we look at Keeper Light, poor Keeper, poor Cyborg Matt, sitting at 211 and 16. Yeah, he's just been not having a really good time in fights, getting good Illuminates off, doing what he needs to, but all in all, he's been picked off time and time again and having a hard time coming through. So now with Queen of Pain with that Scythe, can do that much more, and they're going to push up on this Tier 2 since they have their ultimates available.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like Cyborg Matt's in a bad position. It's not like, just like, it's not like he's playing particularly badly, but I feel like this Queen of Pain is playing absolute, like, win or lose, I feel like the Queen of Pain is like the most valuable player in this game. Because she has done so much to kind of just control the momentum of the game and like really showing why Queen of Pain is such a strong hero.
Sure enough, but we do see this potential for team engagement. They know they have the Ravage and the Magnus ultimate, so they have to be careful. The Blink is on cooldown for the time being. They have the Batrider back in, and he's going to be able to lasso in versus. Is it going to be enough time, though? Going to try to skewer away. Actually, aggressively, interesting position. Going to go and try to dive the found. Don't know. Well, I guess distract them from the Tier 3, but everybody's just TPing on back. I guess just making sure his allies get out clear cut, just going to walk away from that, and of course forcing Lone Druid off of that tower, which did take some substantial amount of damage, actually probably dropping about 700, 800 HP during that kind of, I can't even call it a team fight, but that interesting exchange involving the Magnus there with the Batrider lassoing up.
Yep. In the meantime, also the Faceless Void get some time to farm. And I think that's the most important thing. If they're able to draw this game out like another 10-15 minutes, I think the Radiant will actually be ahead. And also, I think this Faceless Void is going to go and get even more damage items. This feels like a greater crit build to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that's correct, but I think it is in fact awesome. And you know what? If you're this far behind, you might as well hope that you get a sick RP, you're empowered, and you just crit them twice and get a rampage. Going
for Butterfly, a little bit of mix of durable, effective health and DPS, but the fact of the matter is it does. Even with the evasion, it's going to be very difficult for him to survive against big magical nukes like the Soul Assumption. So if LD focuses appropriately, I don't know if the Butterfly is the right course of action, but like you said, it is pretty baller, and they can actually go for attempt for some really big wombo combo ultis. We saw the buyback TP up on the tier 2 top from the Tidehunter, and yeah, Bruno completely picked off here. Nice Scythe to start things off, make sure you can't rage on out of that. But now are they going to go for the Aegis? The Ravage is available, as well as Magnus, Reverse Polarity popping up on everything. They follow up with the Chronosphere on pretty much everyone right here. A little bit of Soul Assumption on the Magnus, not going to hurt him too much. Lifestealer tries to invest, tries to just do anything he can to survive. Not going to happen. Instead, Faceless Void is getting an opportunity to do some good right clicks, but Grave Chilled up, no attack speed for you. Going to get dropped down here. Tidehunter taking a lot of damage as well. So Adski's pretty much going to be the sole survivor right here, if he can even blink on out. He's trying to do a little bit of fighting, but in the end, he's just slowed up too much. Even with this Scythe, he's probably going to drop. So, Regen Rune, he would love to be able to just jump out of the fight for a bit, get full health and mana and come back in, but it's not going to be an option. Just getting disabled up too much, and this tier 2 will be the next target of choice. So, yeah, they stacked the Chronosphere on top of the double Reverse Polarity. That might have been a better option, good option, just to make sure they could secure some kills, but all in all, they didn't get the benefit they were looking for. Atsuki actually popping a buyback, which cost him 1,300 gold, just to try to make sure that they can counter push up and control their tier 2s as they have been there. But, yeah, they did get the Aegis Immortal off the Lifestealer, who had, by the way, an Abyssal Blade. So that's really, really important to make sure you don't have to deal with 2 of those, but they still have the cheese on the Lone Druid, and BTS really, really was able to clean up that fight after the fact.
You know what, I think that this isn't, if you're going and fighting into a Naix with 2 lives, and you manage to pick him off and not lose any towers, and the buyback, it's that's the only really unfortunate thing. I think they'll take that considering how far behind they are. It's kind of, again, it's tricky to focus this, right? Because generally speaking, at this point in the game, you would just go and stick your Faceless Void on all their supports, and then kind of just deal with the rest of heroes by just hexing them, spamming them down with nukes. But the Faceless Void gets in that position, right? And then he gets Grave Chilled, so he's minus 64% attack speed.
Bruno, bad spot.
Bruno's dead.
Yeah, completely picked off there. The Scythe did come through. He's not even infesting a creep. Oh, he does. He might be able to get out of here with the Rage, with the Armlet. I think he can. There is a little bit of counter pressure going on Rootsack with those familiars, with the Soul Assumption. They're actually turning this around. Lifestealer did drop down, though, with Queen of Pain finishing the job. Chronosphere popped off on LD. Going to try to do a Soul Assumption as soon as he gets out, but the Reverse Polarity will prevent that versus catching both Cyborg and LD, and they're both going to drop down here. Though LD does get chunked up a little bit by the Visage on the Soul Assumption on the last very second that he had available. Lone Druid does not have that cheese anymore. He has the bear, but doesn't want to commit it until he knows he's going to survive. So with that, that was actually a very powerful team fight coming out of the Radiant, and surprisingly effective right there. Got the pick off on the Lifestealer, which really forced BTS to cluster up, and of course when that occurs, Magnus has his way with you. So he's moving towards a refresher orb of his own, but that team fight in general was really, really nice for D2R.
I also really like this gem pickup from the Queen of Pain, because it just goes and allows them to really cement the map control that they have. She's being very aggressive, and this is just going to go and help that even more. Tidehunter looks like he's going to give up his life here. Yeah, the lasso is available, but they just get the entangle, and that'll be sufficient right there. So, burning him down, Lone Druid will pick up that kill. So, he's actually not doing that as great as I thought he would be with 3, 8, and 8. He's been throughout all the team fights and survived very well, so his level is not too bad. Level 19, can't complain about that at all, but the fact is, the kills and assists, he's not getting money through that route, and that's why he only has the Maelstrom and soon to be AC on the bear. Just kind of had forced to go that route because of the fact that he hasn't been netting any of the frags. He hasn't been getting any of the kills there, and yeah, that all in all won't be giving him the gold per minute that he's looking for, as he is 4th place for the time being. But Queen of Pain doing so much right now. Like you said, the gem pickup is great, gives him a lot of map control, and of course the Aegis and the Scythe. That Rudder's going to go for a pick on this Venomancer.
Yeah, instrumental.
Venomancer walked over, Warden's pretty much dead.
Yeah, I'm not sure about dead,
Oh,
though.
well,
I mean, he has plenty of HP to work with. The mech is still available, but getting Flame Break back in does cost him. Didn't even bother popping the mech. I feel that's a huge mistake. But anyways, Agent 007 won't be able to blink away from that Shadow Strike, and he's going to keep going. Has that blink, pops off the ultimate. He already has used Decisive Ice, though, and I'm not sure if he's not going to be able to clean it up just too fast.
Oh no, Cyber Math. No, not like this.
Yeah, exactly. He has the mechanism, and maybe he'll use his mech this time so that he will be able to survive as a support there. But yeah, the fact is, Queen of Pain was jumping into enemy territory towards the tier 2 where there were 3 people involved, so didn't want to bite off more than she could chew, and is going to fall back, and rightly so. But the fact of the matter is that is another Venomancer pickoff that, I mean, those kind of support pickoffs can't keep happening at this stage where the hero level is increasing. Even though Venomancer is the lowest, level 12, his death timer is the shortest, but just losing one person for a Roche fight or just a big team fight at a tower, that's, I mean, every little bit counts, and that is something you can't keep letting happen. But beyond that,
you know, I think though the Queen of Pain, right? One really good thing about having this axe, and it looks like this is going to be a damage queen with those treads. Her attack speed isn't terrible. She gets, you know, a little bit more from the axe and the scythe, just providing some, you know, base agility there. So her attack speed isn't awful, and that's basically the biggest problem with running kind of this damage Queen of Pain. And if she goes and builds that into a crit, or, you know, dare I hope for a rapier, they can really just an additional source of damage beyond this Faceless Void is going to do a lot to really help them get kind of a solid lead in this game.
True enough.
I don't even think they're that far behind at this point. If they go and get a good team fight, they have a pretty good job picking off the enemy carries, and it's just a matter of the Queen of Pain able to land the ult on this Coddle on this.
Sure enough, there's a big team fight breaking on out. The Cornus Field will come on through, and so Faceless Void's going to do a lot of damage to Lone Druid, try to bring him down really, really quickly right here. Queen of Pain popping off that ultimate and such. The Ravage will come on through, and so yeah, it's only going to be Bruno left standing to duke it out for the time being, and he's going to do a lot of damage to Faceless Void with that bash proc, whether that's Abyssal or not. I think it was the Abyssal, but yeah, nice damage from the Soul Stone to bring down Tidehunter as well, turning things around. Rusak on low life, the Familiar should be able to take him out. Now Adski, the only one remaining, gets the last hit on Agent 007 with a couple of Shadow Strike and Scream action, but it was, I believe, a buyback from the Faceless Void. Had to be. He's going to come back on in and try to clean something up, but there's nothing really left. There's only 2. There's the Agent 007, who just does not have the Flaming Lasso, but we've seen how effective the Napalm can be in chasing over time. Faceless Void in over his head. What is he doing? With that Mask of Madness already popped off, he's taking so much damage right now. Grave Chill still active. Look at that duration on Grave Chill, slowing him down to a crawl, and he's not going to be able to get out. With one more Flame Break, he is dead. Just some right clicks. A giant flying Pickler of Fire trying to escape from the tower, but oh, getting recalled back? No. Shadow Strike damage over time. Adski jumps in to make sure that kill will be locked down, and she's going to be able to escape from it, so effectively enough there. I don't know, but that was very, very well drawn out, but Faceless Void committed a lot of gold to that.
Yeah. I mean, like, that was really bad, actually. Like, I'm trying to go and find a way to make that justified, because, you know, the Queen of Pain did get all the kills, got a ton of experience, but she's already level 25. It actually doesn't matter at this point. And, like, she's finished her core. Right now, I think the Demonage was a really good idea, because she got in a ton of right clicks, and that's how she was able to go, you know, take down the Nakes, take down the Bat Rider twice, right? And the Lone Druid died. So, it was almost a wash, but they need to do better than a wash. Like, they need to get an extra item on the Faceless Void. The crit and the Mask of Madness were cutting it, but at this point it's just not quite enough, especially when you consider you're going against an AC on the bear.
Okay. So yeah, sorry, my chat crashed for some reason, but as far as one person was mentioning, as far as who is who on Beyond the Summit's team lineup here, it said McDreamy is Gods, and I'll just believe that based on what he says, but in the lobby, McDreamy did say he was LD, so maybe Gods is just a liar there, who knows. Either way, McDreamy is, I guess we'll just go by to make sure there's no ambiguity as far as who is who, and, you know, judging the mistakes accidentally on the wrong person there. Don't want to be. I mean, not to mention that Visage has been doing really, really well, so I guess more so the praise wrongfully going to the wrong person there, one way or another. But McDreamy has been doing a really good job with his item choice. I love the pipe, and of course, he's just been doing so well in team fights, nuking over and over and over on just the right targets at the right time, and has been actually making these fights turn out pretty evenly as they go longer and longer. But the Queen of Pain picking up that MKB will be able to chew on through pretty much whoever she sets her eyes on pretty quickly, and of course she does have quite a bit of effective HP as well, being very mobile, very active, and I think BTS really needs to focus their disables on her more than anything. I mean, I understand the Faceless Void, he's a glass cannon, you have to put something like a lasso onto him, but all in all, that Queen of Pain is really the brunt of their damage now.
You know, actually, I've been noticing in fights, they are actually saving all of their disables for the Queen of Pain, and the Void is just dying to kind of incidental damage. And here, this Queen of Pain is going
big
for
initiation,
really
and it's going to be a lot of damage on who's that Pokemon. Lone Druid is going to take a lot. The Ravage tries to come on in. He could go for it still, but no. Just everybody bouncing away with the Flame Break. Now Atsuki going to finish it off with the Scream ulti combo. Familiar's trying to do what they can. Not going to get enough, though. The Ravage pops off on a piped Visage, but they pop off the Chronosphere as well as the Reverse Polarity all on top of it. Oh my gosh, that Illuminate. So much damage from Coddle. They're going to be able to almost bring everybody down. Rusak on low life. Agent pulling in Atsuki to bring him down. That is going to be a double kill for Cyborg Matt. He's been looking for that all game, and now he's going to get it. So finishes off, ending an unstoppable streak. That's a lot of money in the bank, and Rusak getting stunned up by the Mana Leak. Going to get finished off right here. Give it to Cyborg. Give it to Cyborg. No, Life's still going to pick it up, but nevertheless, Cyborg Matt playing support, getting just chomped on all game long, and finally getting a little bit of recompense there, getting 5 kills on the board total. So that was really nice.
Fair,
and
I mean, like, Cyborg Matt has been in 31 out of 47 kills. Like, you know, it's easy to kind of like poke fun at him because he just gets one comboed by the Queen of Pain. But when you get one comboed by the Queen of Pain and you end up with 26 assists, that means your positioning advice is pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And now, of course, that positioning was amazing. That Illuminate came on through. They did now going to commit to this Tier 3 tower and be able to do a lot. So Visage did have to buy back. Batriders is also on cooldown for the time being, but just doing so much damage. I believe this is going to be Rax right here.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was a huge fight for them. They kind of, like, they were, you know, I'm not going to say they were throwing the game, but it was basically getting to the point where they would lose because there's a Faceless Void with a Magnus on the other team. But, you know, just 2 really good fights. They were able just to kind of solidify the game, and here's another pick off on that Tidehunter.
Yeah, Advent getting pulled on out of there. Kraken Shell will, of course, pop off, but without a Ravage, you're not going to be able to keep yourself alive, and whether or not he wanted to commit such a big cooldown is questionable indeed, but, of course, I don't think he has money for buyback. No, so that, one way or another, he'll be down for 53 seconds. Same with his Ravage, though, so I guess not all of lost in that regard. They'll have him up with his ultimate, which is pretty much his primary contribution at this stage in the game, but, you know, taking down those racks really, really big to start keeping get the pressure for kind of a nail in the coffin mode. They want to try to finish this off, get another Roshan, and keep that momentum, because of course they have had a little bit of a gold advantage all game long, and now it's at its highest, moving back beyond like 17k, and even like 23k for that experience, despite Queen of Pain's a huge level 25. So subtracting the experience per minute of Queen of Pain, everybody else is like 400 or below. I mean, Faceless Void is 426, but 374, 307, and 267 for the other 3 Radiant heroes. So all in all, there's just this overwhelming advantage of levels for of everybody on BTS compared to anybody but Queen of Pain.
Oh man, well, here, look at this Cyborg man. He's almost finished a Hex.
Wow.
Like, he's gone straight in Mech Hex.
Color me impressed.
I would have just, like, you know, kind of manned down, bought like 6 bracers and just hoped to live, but like, he's going to be so impactful. I don't know if the Radiant can win this anymore. If they're going against 2 hexes, or rather, no, the Visage hasn't quite finished his. So yeah, but if they're going against a Hex Abyssal Blade with a Heart, you know, Flaming Lasso, and an AC, like, I don't know if they can win anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this is very different than the last game we casted in comparison to the fact there's no BKBs on the field, so Hex is so big, and this initiation on burst, is he going to go for the polarity? Not going to get a chance, just too much disables, using the bash, not even using the Abyssal Blade, just using the passive, and of course the Lasso doing a lot in that respect too, so he wanted to get a you know, double reverse polarity, not going to be able to farm up that 1875 of the recipe. He has picked off, and I believe that might cost them the game right there. I mean, of course, it was already moving that direction, but it's going in 4v5, they're not going to be able to hold this tower, and they still have the initiation potential they need. Big Ravage popping off, Chronosphere to follow, but who are they going to focus? They're focusing down the Spirit Bear of all things, so yeah, they're going to lose an AC, no, Mechanism, Pipe, popping off a lot of damage in an AoE sense, but the Faceless Void has to fall back, getting bashed up, Soul Assumption backtracked, but he's still taking a lot of damage from the Firefly and will get dropped right here. So all in all, Dire have not lost anything beyond the summit. Gonna easily destroy this team fight now. The Bear might fountain dive just a little bit too much, but I believe that resummon is still available, and actually the Bear didn't even fall. So sitting on 65 HP, a monster truck of a Bear, gonna get summoned up back to full. So that is probably it. BTS taking the bottom racks, the mid already fallen in. Top is getting pushed in pretty aggressively, so yeah, the Magnus will be back up with 1 polarity available, but who's to follow up with the damage? I really think that this was the fight that they wanted to finish this off, and Atsuki getting popped off right here. Just completely bursted down the Entangle, securing the kill, and now they're going to go forward to finish it. Tier 4s and throwing it. Nice, nice, the best polarity of the game right here, but I gotta say it's too little too late.
but they did get it. You know, you gotta give them points for it. But yeah, it's a little, just definitely too little, too late. I gotta say, like, you know, the burden of this game was on this Facelessoid to go and pick farm, but just good plays from the bad writer, always like, you know, interrupting that. A little bit questionable the decision making in fights, overcommitting, buying back when he didn't, you know, necessarily need to. They're just a little bit too far behind, and you know, it's just, you can't win when you only have one real damage source. The Queen of Pain, who I'm still going to say is the MVP for this game, the Queen of Pain tried to like show up and be that secondary damage source, but it's not, you know, Queen of Pain can't outcarry a Naix and a Silver.
Sure enough, sure enough. So that was a really awesome game. There we go. But as far as going back over to the scoreboard and looking at their kind of doing a little bit of post-game report for you guys, I mean, we kind of summed it up effectively. Face of Void needed something more durable than just a Talisman of Evasion. He jumped into a lot of fights, got some good chronos off, sometimes stacked it right on top of the big disables, the Ravage, the Reverse Polarity, something like that, but all in all, they did have the disables there, and so he was able to output quite a bit of damage, but the problem was, without a BKB, he could get Hex down. Like you said, there's the lasso that goes on through BKB, the sheep stick that they got in the end that was able to, you know, put that Scythe of Ice damage on him and make sure that he couldn't get out of that position. And of course, an Abyssal Blade. So even if he wouldn't BKB, I'm not sure if that would have been the best answer. But all in all, it was just he wasn't able to survive. So whatever item he picked up, they were putting a lot of pressure on him. It did open up doors for Adski to do an amazing job on the Queen of Pain. Like you said, MVP for sure. I mean, got tons of pickoffs, 26, 7, and 11, and losing the game. It's kind of unfortunate, but in the broader scope, there was just too much potential coming from the Lifestealer, and I guess I would say the Visage would probably be the secondary there. I mean, Batrider did great, don't get me wrong, picked off Magnus a couple times, awesome, but throughout every single fight, Visage was putting out a really, really amazing amount of damage, and that Grave Chill, honestly, is a very underrated slow for its duration. It's like, I mean, Troll Warlord's slow that recently got released, people are saying Whirling Axes is too long. Well, Grave Chill is just that powerful, too, so that's a bunch of things to keep in mind there, but one way or another, they got to the late game, and they really just, every single one of their heroes had a lot of relevance in the team fight, where I feel that only one or two of D2Rs really came into play at around that 48-minute mark.
You know, I'm actually going to give a shout out to Cyborg Matt, because I actually think they were very close to getting like fully wiped and losing the game in the mid lane, and then he just had a 5-second Illuminate that completely turned the fight around. You know, he caught the Faceless Void when he had just popped the Mask of Madness, so like instantly dead. He went and caught, you know, the Tide, the Veno, and they were shredded too. So like, it just goes to show that in this, even in the super late game, if you're playing a support hero, if you're constantly getting picked off, right? If you keep like a good mentality, you can do a lot of work, and you know, you can make those big plays, even if you know you get instantly wiped by pretty much anyone on the other team.
Sure enough, sure enough. So yeah, that was a really cool game, and I'm glad we got to cast it there, going on 49 minutes on through, but it's going to be Beyond the Summit that progresses into round 3 of the winners bracket. I'll check with our admins and see if we're going to be casting upper or lower bracket and figure out from there, but all in all, this was a great game. Dota2.ru will have a second chance down in the losers bracket for this double elimination best of 1 tournament, but Beyond the Summit moving forward and just obviously doing work in that exchange there. So really, I really like the laning phase on bottom for BTS, and of course throughout the process they positioned themselves well against that massive teamfight lineup and came out on top. So well played to them, and good game. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for this one here. I'm Blazecasting, this is Rainmaker, and thank you guys so much for this game. We'll go on to another one in just a minute.
Cheers guys, GG's.